Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I am Amalgamash, and this is SpritePile, which is a paid tool that allows you to build layer by layer a 3D model in a retro sort of voxel style. We're going to go through and tour this tool, which I've had for quite a while now. It was kindly gifted to me by One Man Indie, so thank you so much, OMI, for sponsoring this tool. I'm going to see what it's all about, and I'm going to use it with a couple of programs that I use to see if it can be compatible. So we are immediately met with an interface that looks like a sort of pixel art program, and we have access to many layers. We can move them up and down, and we can also just remove the layer entirely. When we do so, we are met with additions to the top layer or subtractions, indicating that they are successfully being removed. We do not seem to be able to rename them. That is fine. We can select one of these colors in the palette in the upper left corner. It looks like we can change this color palette as well. And it looks like we can do that by loading an image. So if I were to do that, for example, then we wouldn't get all of the colors in that image. We would just get a selection of them. So that's interesting. Now I close the program, and when I reopen it, it actually keeps the palette settings. So I'm going to click New to try to reset that. And as soon as I create a new file, we are able to say what the size is that we would like. Size being the sort of XY lateral dimensions. And you can make anything from 2 by 2, 4 by 4, 8 by 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256 by 256. All these numbers squared, and height can be anywhere from 2 to 256 as well. So we have access to all of that stuff. We're going to make an image. I'm going to say 16 by 16 and create. We actually still have the image palette saved, but thankfully this does come with its own color palettes. We're going to load one of those right now. Looks like we've got AAP64, Endes GA32, Endes GA64, Island Joy, Juice 32, Sweetie 16, and Zugi 32. I'm sure I'm saying all of that wrong. We'll pick Sweetie 16 for a very simple 16 color palette. Choose the pencil tool and just start drawing. We're going to draw... I'm not sure what we're going to draw just yet. In fact, I think we'll actually take the circle and, point of origin is the center. That's very useful. So we know exactly where this circle is going to start and end. And we have a color replacer as well as a line tool, a color picker, rectangle, translate, which will allow us to take this whole shape, move it around. I love that. Selection, so that we can take this part and move it around, whatever we want to select. That's highly useful, really intuitive so far, so I'm loving that. And it's the stuff within, no, it is included. The outside of the selection square is included as well, so interesting. I'm gonna fix that. Clear the selection by just clicking on the grid somewhere. We'll just draw a line. Now, we don't have a perfect circle now. Whoops, the scroll wheel on the mouse actually changes layers for you. And that's interesting because the further away you get from the layer you're working on, the more the image kind of fades for the layers underneath. So that's very nice. That's a really, really good feature. For the first layer, I think I'm going to pretend that this is water, though. And I'd like to do a circle that's not filled. So clicking on it twice seems to toggle the fill option. Very useful. We'll grab this black color, and I will make a border for my circle that is black. And while I'm at it, I'll also take this pencil, grab this light blue, and fill in these little bits that happened to occur while I was messing around. And that ought to fix that. We've got our perfect sphere. It is lovely. We have a preview in the bottom right that you can see, and we can translate that preview. We can't change our perspective of it. We can zoom in and out though. Oh, it looks like we have different animation types for them. So that's what the spinning. Okay, and that's fine. And we can see there are different fidelities. So we can see 1, which is very pixelated, 2, which seems to double the subdivision of the pixels rendered, 3, which makes it even smoother, and 4, which makes it even smoother. That's pretty cool. We can also play or stop the animation using the control provided Let's actually make something now, though. I wanted to make like a pool of water, and then I wanted to go ahead and grab some brown, which I don't really have brown here, do I? Maybe we can add a color to the color palette, huh? So options, and then we have a lot of options here. Canvas lines, canvas grid on, canvas axis on, onion skins, that's the proper term for what we are seeing in the layers when we move up and down from the other layers adjacent to it. Alpha scale, texture page size, check your GPU's info. We'll just leave that alone. Undo limit, 512. 0.5 megabyte per undo, we'll leave that alone. It's really useful to have that information though. Preview background, 17 cubed by default. We'll leave it alone. Add palette color, that's what I'd like to do. We can also remove a palette color from last to first. We can change the background color and the window color and turn on or off color information. So that's really cool. We'll add the palette color. I'd like to add a brown. So it's gonna be, oh, not really what I thought I'd be able to do, huh? Maybe, where's the brown in a 256 scale? My wife could help me with this. We're gonna just go with this sort of orangish color, right here. It's not really a brown per se, but I don't want to linger on this more than I already have. So let's just get something added. Done. The color is actually added to the palette. It doesn't replace any of them. So we'll say done here, and we'll go ahead and draw. And then on the second layer, I'm actually gonna take the bucket real quick and fill in some green. We're gonna fill in the whole thing with green. And then we're just gonna have a couple of dots here and there, and that's gonna be green grass, guys. I'm gonna go to the first layer, leave all of this stuff alone, except I am gonna draw another circle right there. So it just overlays right over the top of the circle we have. We are giving ourselves a bit of a wall around the perceived water that I have made. And we're gonna grab this dark color and go right over the top of our other ones. We are making the grass blades taller. I like it, looks good. Let's grab, not the bucket. We're still doing pencil. And we're just filling that in. We have a few more controls I haven't looked at yet. We have an X, which is a X mirror. That's super useful. So anything I draw will be drawn on the opposite axis in the appropriate spot. Mirroring whatever art we have. We can do a Y, which is the same thing, but along the Y axis, and we can do X and Y, which gives us the ability to draw in 4 places at once and essentially mirror by 2 axes a tile, a cubed tile that we're going to make. So we'll do none for that for now. We won't have any mirrors selected. I'm going to go up to the next layer, and I've already drawn what I intended to be blades of grass. And now I am drawing a tree trunk. I'm going to spin this around. I'm going to make this tree taller. So we're going to go ahead and continue building layers, just drawing the tree. And I'm seeing now actually that there's a lovely preview of what it is you're drawing right here next to the layer. That is fantastic. I can't believe it took me almost a year to open this program up. Actually, it might have even been longer than a year. If we go back down to say layer 6, we can have a branch protrude, and then layer 8, we'll say, we'll have another branch protrude that way. We'll go ahead and put a little bit more trunk on here, a little bit more body of the tree. Let's go back to layer 6, and now we'll grab some light green, and we'll just have light green foliage on the branch. We can do that. That is permissible. That is perfectly fine. Layer 9, we'll put foliage on top. Layer 7, we'll put some foliage on top. Looks great, so that way the leaves have more 3-dimensionality. Layer 10, it's the top of our tree. I'm now gonna go ahead and make the tree itself very bushy, very childlike way of making a tree, in my opinion. I'm just like giving bulk to the top of a log, but that's how I want to make my tree today. So do not judge me. I need to delete this. Oh, and you can do that just by right clicking. So if you make a mistake, you can hold and drag right click and just get rid of that stuff. So that's really, really cool. I have made myself a nice grassy scene. I think what I'd like to do now is just grab this darker blue, go back down to my very first layer, and just put some lines in it just to make it a little more watery than what it is. Maybe, I don't know if that actually gives any sort of illusion of water. And then maybe an artist out there can tell me what I might do to make that more watery looking. Some white perhaps instead? Maybe. That might make it worse. Whoa! And I just deleted instead of draw. Let's put a couple of rocks down next. We can do that with a gray. We can go ahead and put our rock like here. We can put we'll put a larger rock here opposite the tree. So if we go up a layer, that larger rock is going to have some dimensionality to it. And actually layer 0, we'll make those rocks square. Layer 1, we're just gonna have, that's all I'm gonna do. Actually, I will make that go above. I will make that go above the grass. That it would be kind of useless to not do that. So there we go. That is all I want to do. So I'm going to export this bad boy. Actually, I'm going to save it. And we can save it as something called a sprite stack. I'm going to save it to my desktop really quick, and I'm going to see if this scene that I have made in SpritePile is openable with another tool real quick. So bear with me. Right, so when I try to open up the SpritePile file in Notepad, it's crazy. So it's definitely not openable in Notepad. I wondered. Can't blame me for trying to edit something with text. So now we're going to go ahead and export this guy. And we can export this as an OBJ or a VBO GM, or we can export it as a sheet. We can specify the scale and the number of angles. We can export this sprite as slices or a GIF, and I do pronounce that GIF. To each their own, but if you pronounce it GIF, you're probably the kind of person who pours the milk before the cereal. But there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not judging, just observing. VBOGM object, let's do an object file. We'll export it as an OBJ, and we're going to export that right to the desktop. It's finished the export. I'd love to see this in Blender. Let's open it up in Blender. In Blender, we're just going to go to File, and we're going to import. Don't worry, we're going to look at some of the other stuff too, the other export methods. We're going to import this wavefront.obj file. Go to my desktop, click on the file itself. It does have a material file. The object file itself is 34 kilobytes, and the scene, the material file rather, is 585 bytes. So extremely small model file. This actually takes up quite a bit of size. Now, I could have given my tree more dimensionality, I see, but I cannot see a better way of previewing this than to go into Blender and do it from there. So it's really cool to see that. I can view stuff from the side, of course, or from any of the angles. I love how it looks to the side because it looks very, very video game-like. And it don't look bad at all. It doesn't look bad at all. So I'm actually going to take this and I'm going to export it. You guessed it. Well, let's see what it looks like with rendering here. It's fine. It's fine. I'm going to export this bad boy as an FBX, because why wouldn't I? And I'm just going to use the SGB presets, and I'm actually going to call this SpritePile scene.fbx. We'll import this into both SGB as well as RPG Developer Baki in another video. But for now, that's what that looks like in Blender. Let's take a look and see what some of the other export options bring us. So we can export this as a sheet, and we can change scale and angles, but I don't know what that means yet. So let's just export that, and it'll save it as a PNG, which is pretty straightforward and simple and viewable on the desktop. Let's see what that looks like. A PNG file, here it is, and we just get to see, oh, how cute. Look at that. Look, I'm not really sure what data it tried to use to render that. I think what it did was it's viewing it when it takes a picture from a 45-degree angle. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's just my first impression. That's what it looks like it's doing here. Or it's literally building up. Yeah, it's building up the different layers, but it is allowing us to cover the layers too with the layers above. This is 2000%, viewing at 2000%, because it's such a small image file. It is a 1-to-1, I would say, of its files, its size rather, its virtual size in not file size, but how big it is in the 3D world, according to how many voxels by how many voxels. Let's do a larger scale so it's easier to see. Let's do a scale of 4, and let's put 4. Oh, it looks like the angles double whenever you do that. So we'll do angles of 4. I imagine we'll be able to see a significant difference between the two exports when we view them side by side. The first one is this one, of course, which is very small. Scene SP2 is here. That's what that does. So I asked it to give me 4 angles, and I've scaled it up ×4, so it's much easier to see now. I still have to zoom in to kind of let it fill the screen. We get the same result because it's doing a pixel nearest neighbor algorithm. My tree is a little borked. My tree is just a little bit borked. Something in that method has borkified my tree just a little bit. Things are not pixel perfect because there's a little bit of lineage here going on. Not sure what's causing that, but I get 4 different views of my scene that way. That's really cool. So this just created 4 different tiles for us that we can rip out of that PNG file. We'll do one more with the sheet. I'll go ahead and put the scale to 8, so that way it's really easy to see. And I'd like to see 16 different angles. What are you going to look like with 16 angles? What are the 16 angles? So to, again, it's literally rotating it. And now you kind of get an idea of the 3-dimensionality of it when you see it in these non-orthogonal oriented positions. I like that a lot. So I don't know what the use case would be unless you have a game where you are really making a game that only makes use of the diagonal ones. So you cut those out and you use those as your tile set for your game. Very painful and labor-intensive process to do it that way, but it's something I could see being done. So we'll get out of there, and we'll delete these scenes that I've made because I'm going to make more, and I don't want to stuff up my download file or my desktop there. Slices. We're going to do slices next, and we'll just go ahead and export that. Scene SP slice. Then we'll go to GIF. The scale is 8, and then the quality, we can change the quality from 0 to 4, or 3 rather, and that's going to mimic, in my opinion, it's exactly going to mimic the quality levels we saw when we were adjusting the fidelity of the preview down here. So we'll do one quality at 0. We'll call that Sprite SP 0 GIF or scene. I said GIF. You got me thinking GIF, GIF, and I know that it's GIF. It's a graphics interchange format. We'll do another quality at 3 and export that GIF. We'll call that sp3.gif. So having done that, we can also export a VBO, and I think that's for Game Maker. I think that's why that option is there. I've already done slices, so now we've done everything. Let's take a look at the exported scene in the slice format, and it literally gives us each layer, one layer at a time in slices. I don't know what the use case for this would be. I'm really not sure. I'm sure that there's some use case for it, or a variety of them, but nothing sticks out to me with workflows with which I'm familiar. So that's really interesting that you can do that. I like that feature. The more features, the merrier, even if I can't use them. Next, we have Scene SP0. This is a GIF image animated, of course, of the whole thing rotating like it would in the preview. This is quality 0. And then right here is quality 3, which is the highest fidelity. So we have anti-aliasing along the edges whenever it gets to where it's diagonal and needs to do that. I love it. Very well done. We can create enormous scenes. Can we import? Yes, we can. What can we import? However, we can import billboard sprites or slices. That's why we can make slices. So if I open that up, how many slices per row? It says 12. I'll just leave it at 12. How many rows? I'll just leave it at 1. Okay, that's its way of asking what the slices are. So slices is a convention across sprite making software. So we've got our our whole image, which looks just like it did when I made it. So when I exported it, it was one row of 12 slices. And we could have just as easily made a row of 50 layers. Well, I guess 32 layers really would have been what's here. And this actually truncates the unused layers. So we just have our 11 layers. That's good to know. Keeps things simple. Let's import the billboard now and see what happens. We're able to do that. We can talk about the depth and then we can talk about 1 for x-axis or 2 for y-axis. Let's leave that at default and see what happens. It seems to have imported it perfectly. This is the image again. This is the imported image. No, it was not perfect. There is a log in the middle of my pool, and I hate when that happens. That's why I have the sign up outside the pool. If you need to go to the restroom, you... Anyways, thank you guys very much for watching this video on SpritePile, right? They're called Sprite Stacks, but SpritePile. I hope that it helped you determining whether or not the purchase is something that could help you out in your game making endeavors. I will be putting up videos very soon showing what these look like in Smile Game Builder and an RPG Developer Blocking, as those images are able to accept FBX file format for 3D models. So we will be running this through Blender, but I already did that step in this video, so we'll just get right to what they look like in those engines. So until next time, have a great rest of your day. Let me know anything you'd like down below, and bye for now.